Ba-bum, bum, ba-bum, bum, ba-bum. That's my interpretation of the Empire song. Well, we're done with that. It's now on The Mandalorian Chapter 4. I'm here with Chris, and he didn't survive the Rancor, Jack Connell, TPL, and we're, of course, going to talk about my favorite of the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, which I have a 27 point PowerPoint to go through, and I promise we're going to be here for the next hour, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Jack. You seemed very scared when I said an hour and 35.
I'll go for an hour 20.
All right, well, I'm going to have to do my best. Mr. Crockpot here. Hit the 5 stars, subscribe at the painted lines. We're going to get into our Mandalorian Chapter 4. Probably, it jumped the shark, in my opinion, but here we are. We're doing a Western. You got Baby Yoda in your crosshairs. Shit's going to get real. Then we're going to talk Return of the Jedi, which, as you all know, last week I was a little poo-poo on Empire Strikes Back. I just want to give you my thoughts on why I feel Return of the Jedi is better. I'm probably not going to sway anybody in this room, but I don't care. So let's go into Chapter 4. Jack, Mos Eisley 2.0. What's going on, man? What do you thought on Mandalorian?
It was great. It was a great shot episode. I really loved how they did the ATST. I thought that was fantastic. And they kind of mentioned that Bryce Dallas Howard, who was in Jurassic World, was the director, and you kind of saw that symbolism with it coming out of the trees.
Yeah,
I love that. That was probably my favorite of the show.
Do you think that she took anything from her dad? Was there anything like Apollo 13-esque you saw?
Jesus.
I don't know his directing techniques off the top of my head. I'm really not into stuff like that. Maybe Chris does, but I
Well, J.J. Abrams has those lens flares. That's like his go-to. I don't know if Ron Howard has anything other than solid plots and Tom Hanks.
Good narration.
Yeah.
Good narration.
Good narration. Chris, what'd you think? What was your favorite moment in Chapter 4?
I've got a lot here.
No, just give me one.
No, that's not going to happen. It was a really good episode. I think I gave it the lowest score of the season. Episode 4, I was like right around like an 8 out of 10. A lot of character building, a lot of world building. Nothing major happens other than we see Mando talk a lot. One of my favorite moments of this episode, Dave, I like the small moments. So there was a moment when Baby Yoda was on a speeder and he was looking up at the stars, and that was just a really enjoyable moment because we know that Baby Yoda is not going to be on a farm the rest of his life. That's not in the cards for this kind of species. But yeah, the Mandalorian showed his true strength, dude. This is a show that understands what makes it a successful franchise. It's a space western, and watching Mando and Baby Yoda just sail off into the sunset, man, that was like something you see, Magnificent Seven or the Seven Samurai. Just this show, The Mandalorian, knows exactly what it is and how to be successful.
I mean, the one thing you kind of mentioned about Seven Samurai, I don't know if you guys know, but George Lucas kind of initiated the first Star Wars kind of based off the Seven Samurai. I really don't know the exact allusions off the top of my head, but I know that was a heavy inspiration for the first Star Wars.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, very, very Kurosawa-esque. Jack, I don't think it was Seven Samurais, but you're right. It was one of the Kurosawas. Gotta love a space epic. He also enjoyed a little bit of John Carter, which, Chris, you and I stand for John Carter as much as we can.
So underrated.
It has its moments. I think the big meme, though, of course, is Baby Yoda sipping on a soup on bone marrow. But here's my question, and maybe, Jack, you can answer me this. Is Baby Yoda ever going to eat that frog?
I don't know. I mean, the Chewy's very hungry. He's passed up 2 meals at this point. I mean, he was kind of bullied into giving up the last one. The poor kids were like making fun of him. And I hope he gets one.
Was anybody surprised at all that there was going to be one farmer in there that knows how to shoot?
No, that's such a good thing.
The training montage was pretty cool, though. It was. You always got to appreciate, the training montage in a Star Wars show or film. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're going to see why one of my top moments in Return of the Jedi parallels very easily in Mandalorian Chapter 4.
Yeah, a lot of
We
parallels.
all know it.
A lot
We
of
all know it.
The nods to the Return of the Jedi, man. You could just replace the villagers with the Ewoks. You're basically watching the same thing. Watching the villagers and the ATST, dude, it's the same movie, man.
Yeah. We even had a speeder. We had a speeder, but Chris, I kind of hit you up on this, and maybe Jack, I don't know if you follow The Good Place, but Pillboy was in this episode. It threw me for a loop. I wasn't expecting Pillboy to have a life after The Good Place, but here he is. He's just a farmer in a backwoods, planet. Good for him. Good for Pillboy.
Really big moment happened. It is revealed that the Mandalorian, Mando, is actually not Mandalorian. Jack, Dave, I've been talking about that all series long. So any ideas? Where do you think, the series is going? Like, clearly they're playing with the theme that, does Mando deserve happiness? Does he deserve, life beyond being a bounty hunter? And I feel like this episode really harped on that. We saw Mando talk a lot in this episode. We saw some romantic engagements between the mother and Mando this episode. He was contemplating. He even took his helmet in front of people, which I don't even know if a Mandalorian's allowed to do, but he did it anyway. People clearly saw him. He's in his giant fucking window, so people are looking. So I don't know. I think we're seeing the Mando make the choice of the hero in this episode. And I think that there's a definite attachment building between Baby Yoda and Mando. This isn't your typical Mandalorian man. This is a soft-hearted hero. I think everything points towards Mando leaving the Mandalorian race and eventually settling down somewhere. I don't know. What do you think, Dave?
Well, I mean, it goes back to what I said last week about how Jango Fett took off his helmet. We always saw him without it. There's a big key moment here, and everyone asks what happens when you take it off. He's like, oh, I can't put the mask back on. But it clearly, Jango Fett had no problem with it. So I got to wonder, is because of what Jango Fett did, is that now why Mandalorians believe it to be sacred of taking the helmet off and never being allowed to put it back on?
Now, here's the thing for you. I was looking into this. I don't know the exact specifics, but it is claimed that Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian.
Really?
But I thought it was. So I thought the whole point of the foundlings is that they're picking up, they're grabbing them together, and the Mandalorian is almost like not a species, but think of it as like a religion. So, Chris, you and I can become Mandalorians. We're not from the. Yeah. So I don't see. So Jack, you're telling me there's actually, is this some like dark web where people don't believe it? All right. Well, we're gonna find that. We're gonna put that in the link because that's some good callback. Because if Jango Fett's not a Mandalorian, then that means Boba Fett's not a Mandalorian either. And this whole thing's gone. Just take it out. It's not canon. Get it out of here.
Yeah, for real. Can we mention a little bit about Cara Dune? I thought that was a really kind of nice nod to Return of the Jedi. She, what has been going on since Return of the Jedi, and she kind of was an answer to that. She was a ex-rebel shock trooper that kind of did a lot of the cleanup on Endor after the Battle of Endor. And there's a lot of nods to what is going on and what happens to, since then, and how the rise of the First Order started. That was kind of a cool take, but I thought Cara crushed it. It doesn't look like she's coming back, though. Do you think we're going to see Cara again? Go ahead, Jack.
I really don't think we can write off any character in this show. I really think we'll see everybody one time or another. I mean, there's another season of the show. I mean, you don't know. I mean, maybe she could come in and save him later in the season, or he finds her for help again. I don't think she's gone just yet.
What about you, Dave?
Oh, this is team building 101. You build your RPG, right? We talked about RPGs. That's exactly what this is. 100%. We talked about the little guy with the hand. He's going to be like their fearless. He's like their mage. He's going to be there. You pick him up later on when you really need to bring everybody together. You got your farmer who can shoot. She's coming. He's going to rebuild IG-11. Whatever he's got to do. I think that's just where we're at. And he may even turn, his old bounty hunter buddy. He might even turn them. We don't even know if Han Solo is going to come in every once in a while. We don't know what's going to happen. But I mean, I didn't see. I don't know. Does Disney Plus do like a what's on next episode? Because I never watch it. If they do,
Oh, they do.
okay, they do.
I
All
don't
right.
watch
Well,
those though. I refuse to watch them. I don't want that to make any, sway or give me any kind of bias with my. I wrote that in my review, Dave. I wrote in that I think everything points to Mando having a crew by the end of this first season. He's meeting all of these characters that are genuine and well intended, just very kind characters, and I think that is starting to lean Mando towards away from the life of being a bounty hunter, a life of being isolated and not wanting anyone else. No, this is the way. The mission is everything. This is, Mando is completely evolving in front of our eyes.
Here, and I'll see if you guys are on board with this or just Dave, stay in your lane. If ended and season 2 starts and it's basically Firefly 1, I'm all in.
Dave, that's like the show that I need to watch.
Yeah,
there's a short list of shows that I haven't seen. That's one of them.
Yeah, so I mean, Firefly, it's all about the bounty hunter, the war hero, the team they lost, the Brown. So they just decided, you know what, we're going to become smugglers for hire. We got a ship together, and this is every episode. Yeah, there's an overarching bad guy, maybe 2. But it's really a bunch of bottle episodes where they're stuck on the ship and they're just interacting with each other. This feels like that's what that could turn into, where Mando is basically Nathan Fillion is basically what's going to happen here, and I would be supremely upset if that's not what happens, but that's okay.
Last little tidbit about this episode before we move on to Return of the Jedi is I gotta give a quick nod to the Loth Cat. I'm currently binge watching Star Wars Rebels, and in this episode, I don't know if you guys remember, but Baby Yoda faces this horrific looking cat. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So that's the Loth Cat, and the Loth Cat makes a lot of appearances in Star Wars Rebels. So that was a cool little nod to Star Wars Rebels.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Jack, any lasting thoughts? Where do you think this show's going?
I think it's all leading towards he's gonna abandon. I don't think he'll abandon Mandalorian faith. I think he'll change it because there really hasn't shown anything that he's against the Mandalorian. But he'll kind of go his own way, maybe set a trend. I don't know. I think it all points to a bigger threat coming. Well, obviously, because the bounty hunters keep going after Baby Yoda, he's going to keep protecting him. Maybe a big group comes after him, and he needs to assemble a group, like you said. I mean, who knows? I mean, it could go a million different ways.
What if he becomes part of the New Order?
That'd be really interesting. I'm terrified. I am legit terrified that so much of this show is building that relationship of Baby Yoda and Mando, and they're just going to rip out our hearts, man. That is going to be a...
When they had him in the sights of the sniper, I wasn't mentally prepared for that to happen yet.
Yeah, everything's building towards some sort of huge separation between those two, and I'm terrified. It's if the show does that, man, there's going to be no coming back from that one. So
without a doubt. So one of the things I saw recently was another website, a competitive website. You may know them. Talked about how Disney Plus doesn't have anything R-rated in it. They're not killing a Baby Yoda on Disney Plus. Once you realize this, that's not going to happen. The worst thing that's going to, and we're definitely not going to see it through the sniper lens and then a head blow up. No. That would be traumatizing. Now, if this was on Hulu, all bets are off.
What I'm really hoping for is some sort of mention of the midi-chlorians. I want to really move the show towards we got our character building episode that's really moved the plot forward in chapter 5. I want to see some sort of mention about cloning, what's going on, why do they want Yoda, how does it relate to Palpatine. There's only a few more, 4 more episodes left, so we're getting close to the Rise of Skywalker. Comes out in a few weeks, so I really want to see the Yoda take center stage in chapter 5 and what the heck is going on. Clearly they want his midi-chlorians. That's what's going on.
I mean, that's the best part. I think that's everybody's favorite part of the prequel trilogy is the midi-chlorians.
Oh, for me, it's pod racing, but whatever.
All right.
All right.
Let's do Return of the Jedi, man.
All right. PowerPoint slide number 1. No. So I'm gonna caveat this real quick. If this is where you want to tune out because you just don't want to hear somebody stand for Return of the Jedi, 1 minute, then you can come right back in. To be very clear, I'm like 90% sure I saw this movie first out of order. So like I think, if you logically go episode 4, 5, 6, I think I saw this one first. It's just an age thing. None of us were alive when any of the original trilogy was up. I don't even think Jack was alive when the new trilogy came out. It's debatable.
Wait, I need to fact check that.
But I think where I'm trying to get to is that like Ewoks were effing memorable. I mean, that was just one of the things that always got me. I remember seeing like Star Wars Christmas specials and there were Ewoks in them. And I was like, I know what those are. Like I was a kid. I was like maybe 7 when I first saw a Star Wars movie. Now episode 4, A New Hope, the most memorable scene for me is not the trash compactor. It's Luke and Leia streaming across on their little grappling hook. That was very memorable. It's, growing up, that's what I remember that movie a lot about. This one, I think I remember every single detail. And I think that's why I love nostalgia. That's why I love this movie so much that I can kind of remember everything. Some of the best moments are obviously that have grown into legend are things like, it's a trap. Oh, you get Lando coming back and redeeming himself. You get Carbonite, Boba Fett. I mean, and Jabba the Hutt. There are so many things about this, and we talked about last week where I even made the comment, like little moments, when you combine them, it doesn't make a great movie. This movie's even longer than Empire Strikes Back. So again, if a good thing is if Star Wars is a good thing, then a longer Star Wars has to be better. I'm just saying.
You done?
There's Slave Leia. There's C-3PO becoming a golden god. There's the Vader redemption. There's Palpatine in his most evil. Chris, you love villains. There's Palpatine.
Palpatine is good. And to be frank, like we're comparing like the greats of the greats here. Like if I'm gonna shit on Return of the Jedi here, like and while comparing it to Empire, like this, just so you guys know, like this is all love here because I love Return of the Jedi is obviously one of the best movies ever, but the middle act of a 3-play act is always where everything goes bad in a movie. The heroes are left wondering if they're going to survive. So episode 5 is the point of like talking about Empire Strikes Back is the point of just so much more emotion. Nothing in Return of the Jedi was more emotional than in Empire Strikes Back. In Return of the Jedi or in Empire, you had the Imperial March song. In fact, I think all the music in Empire Strikes Back was better in Return of the Jedi. You had the I Am Your Father, you had the asteroid scene, you had the Hoth battle. There's no way, Dave, you can tell me that the Battle of Endor is better than the Battle for Hoth. No question. And then you had the Jedi training with Yoda, you had Luke losing to Vader, dude, Han being frozen. But the number one reason why Empire Strikes Back was better than Return of the Jedi was because the good guys didn't win, Dave. And I think that's where we're like there's a disconnect because
in Dave's eyes, the good guys did win.
The what?
You like the Empire? The Empire good guys?
No.
So they did win in the second one.
So our heroes are legit hiding and on the run at the end of Empire. So Return of the Jedi just kind of rehashed the same movie that we saw before. It was the same basic plot. That there's a new Death Star. We have to find the weakness. We have to exploit the weakness and blow it up. So it didn't really move the plot at all for Return of the Jedi. I just think Empire is just a strictly better overall film. What about you, Beck?
I mean, I enjoyed. I think Empire is a better movie. I think Return of the Jedi is more enjoyable in a sense that makes sense. I mean, like it's
too light. It was too fun for me.
But I mean, it wrapped everything up pretty good until 1999 and 2017 decided to come along. But I mean, it did everything great. I mean, there's a lot of great moments in it. Like we kind of mentioned Endor, the original Home Alone. I'm pretty sure Dave will mention on later. But and there's a lot of great moments too. I mean, the whole I find out Leia is his sister. She's force sensitive. That whole speech. like Palpatine, Darth Vader's redemption. I mean, a lot of stuff Dave touched upon. I mean, I'm kind of stuck in the middle between the two. Empire is the better movie, but Return of the Jedi is more enjoyable for me.
All right, my last little shot over the bow. You tell me this wasn't emotional when an Ewok dies.
Dude,
you look me right in the eyes and you tell me that you didn't feel something when you hear. It was the worst when you're like 8 years old and you see that. Teddy bears are ruined after that.
And you say they won't kill Baby Yoda.
It was emotional.
Disney Plus won't.
Ewoks was a little divisive. Like, I think they kind of like lost their luster the older I got them after more views. I wouldn't even count them as like a top 3 Star Wars creature, man. I'd put the Porgs. I would put Baby Yoda in front of them. Who else would be better? Man, I'll put a Wampa in front of the damn Ewoks. But I just can we talk about our favorite moments now? Because I hate shitting on Return of the Jedi. It just goes against everything to the core of my soul here.
Yeah, you just called Ewoks worse than Wampas. Yeah, go ahead. Go for it. Redeem yourself.
All right. So my favorite parts, I like the little, tiny moments that mean everything. We got to talk about the Rancor versus Luke Skywalker when Luke walks in and he's just like dressed in black. He's all straight up badass. He goes, give me my friends or you will all die. Like, who is this Luke Skywalker, that we're used to watching in A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back? And a little nod to the Rancor Keeper's Rancor Keeper that was mourning after the Rancor dies. What a little weird moment that was so memorable. But I thought a really cool moment was, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but when you're watching the Rancor and you see him eat the Gamorrean, like the pig guy, and he takes 2 bites and then tilts his head directly towards Luke Skywalker. That is an exact replica of Jurassic Park. I don't know if you guys ever noticed this, but the T-Rex in Jurassic Park does it with the goat, and then he looks at the guests in the car. It's the same animatronic motion. It's pretty cool.
So which came first? So Jurassic Park is just a ripoff.
Yeah, maybe.
Which is one of our favorite movies, Chris.
Well, we know John Williams and Steven Spielberg are very close, right? So could be.
Jack, fire away. Come on, what's your favorite Return of the Jedi moment? What's your least favorite moment? Give us something.
My favorite, I mean, probably you kind of touched on the Rancor pit. I think the entire just ending Palpatine versus Vader versus Luke, that whole the redemption, seeing him at the end of the celebration. That's probably just my favorite part. I mean, it's like a quarter of the movie, but I mean, that's my favorite part of it.
What about you, Dave?
Whole thing. Nothing wrong about the movie whatsoever. It might be flawless.
Okay. I got to mention the Luke versus Vader. The lighting of that fight scene was incredible. There's a scene in the film where while they're fighting, you see Vader find out about Leia, and there's a troubled Luke, and the camera is focusing on Luke's face, and you can see half white and half dark. Really, really just beautiful scene. And of course, you have Luke saying, "I am a Jedi, but like my father before me." Just such an epic moment. We have Luke setting Vader's body on fire. I think that's, but however, I think it's really important that Vader's arc is complete, and he's not setting Vader's body on fire. He's actually setting Anakin Skywalker's body on fire. Really cool moment. Those are my top 3 moments.
Man, he really gets burned a lot throughout the entire saga. I mean, that's the second time he's been burned alive.
I know, right? Vader can't catch a break, man.
I was just thinking, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, kind of that thing. That's Vader.
So after all the Star Wars movies and video games, has your viewpoint on Return of the Jedi changed over the years? Go ahead, Jack.
I've always liked the Return of the Jedi. I think Boba Fett over the years has kind of become a cult following. We'll talk about that more, probably ties to the Mandalorian, but obviously it was his biggest feature was in this movie in the beginning, and then obviously he died in the pit. And then, I think it's always been this. Ewoks have gone on every male's nerves as they've gotten older. I'm trying to. I've always liked Luke's green saber. I don't know why. That's just I've always liked that a lot more than the blue one. That's just a small tidbit. But I mean, that's something I've always enjoyed. But, I mean, I've always felt very good about it. I don't think my opinion's really ever changed on it.
How about you, Dave?
To be honest, I mean, obviously, I do like episode. I like the new trilogy. I like what's about to happen. So this obviously was the lead-in to The Force Awakens, which was really great. Obviously, you get more of Luke in, last movie. So yeah, I don't. I mean, it answers a few more questions. Like, obviously Han and Leia got together. Thank God. That would have been very Luke Leia, would have been awkward for everybody. But some of the canon things are, that were in the books and some of the comics afterward, there's a lot of cool mythos that didn't get thrown around. And I think because of Luke becoming the ultimate Jedi master and allowing him to train other younglings and kind of getting further, it doesn't change this movie whatsoever, other than the fact that you're still dealing with the repercussions of, okay, the big battle was won, two of the leaders were taken out. How do you deal with that fallout? And I think The Mandalorian is actually probably doing a very good job of, hey, it's been 5 years, but shit's still happening. So, there's, how do you squash mini rebellions?
It stayed the same for me, man. It's just an all-time classic film. I got to ask you one more question. Which movie finished the trilogy better? All right, guys, ready? Return of the Jedi, Return of the King, Toy Story 3, or Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Go ahead, Dave.
Considering only one of those was a true trilogy, I guess Return of the King is the only logical answer.
All right. How about you, Jack?
I'll go Toy Story 3.
Toy Story 3 is good.
Saga completely. I was a gut wrencher for many children, including myself when I was little. But I thought it wrapped up pretty well.
That's a good answer. I got to
go. I will quote Clerks 2 here for a second and say, there is only one return and ain't up the king. So, I mean, Return of the Jedi that trilogy is better than the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. If you point a gun to my head, I'm going to say Return of the King. I can't go against Lord of the Rings. It's just an all-time
I'm not a big Lord of the Rings guy, but I mean, maybe you can answer to me. Why did they just use those eagles in the first place?
Yeah. All right, so we will answer this in one really quick one, Jack. Gandalf tried, but then he was captured by Saruman. That was literally what was going to happen. He had the eagles planned out. Saruman caught him. He even said, "Fly, you fools!" Like at the end of when the Balrog was coming. So like he had planned to use the eagles. It just didn't happen that way.
Okay.
Tough luck.
All right. Before we wrap it up, Dave, talk a little bit about A Pod Has No Name, man.
Oh, Pod Has No Name. I'm actually going to record tonight. We're on to episode 5 of His Dark Materials. Great episode that just recently happened. We're going to go into a lot of things, but one thing I'm excited for that's coming up isn't so much A Pod Has No Name. Don't tell Shane and Tom. If you're in the Philly area, come down to Wilmington, Delaware in January. We are going to have something called Cos Punk Live.
Boom. Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be cosplay karaoke. Just think about that. So, get all your anime costumes on, come in a giant Gundam suit, sing your heart out. There will be cash prizes. More to come.
How about you, Jack? Let's talk a little bit about post position, dude.
I mean, we've been doing great so far. We have Ben Golliver of the Washington Post joining us on Friday. We've just had recently Jack Duffy, our own TPL members beat writer of the Hornets, join us earlier this week. It's just been going great. Now, me and Harrison, we just have been having a great time with it. It's something we've wanted to do for a while, and I'm just really excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. Check out definitely our Harley Quinn reviews. I did a Black Widow reaction, trailer reaction to the new teaser trailer. Looks great, I thought. And of course, we keep doing our Mandalorian reviews every single week. For Dave, follow him on Twitter @Defective. Follow Jack on Twitter @JackCon on TPL. I'm Mr. Crockpot. See you later, guys.